VC since morning, and this new business of VCs, while of course it gives you a sense that we've become far more efficient, but actually it drains you out. By the time you finish your VCs, it's like a clock, mechanical clock, you're just going one to the other. But it's much, much better to meet all of you in person and interact with you. And I'm finding more and more people across the world now are realizing that there's a limit to how much you can really connect between two parties. But before I come to today's proceeding, one of the VCs I had, and which went off very long, was the next FTA with Australia. And today we made significant progress. There were a lot of loose ends which both ministers, Minister Dan Tehan and I, decided that let's try and limit it to just a few sensitive areas. And broadly, we've come to a very, very high level of agreement in today's VC. We'll be having our next VC, and you know, we did the UAE in a similar fashion. On Thursday, our teams are interacting tomorrow and day after. So let's see how the progress goes, but we'll soon give you some more good news, I hope. But delighted to be amongst all of you. I know it was very short notice. I was here yesterday, and it just struck me that since I am here for another day today and I was leaving tonight, why not interact with all the friends, give them a sense of what the UAE FTA entails for us, and why I think it's important that all of us take benefit of it. In an FTA or a CEPA or any such agreement that we do is for all of you. And unless it really comes down onto the ground and you benefit from it, otherwise it makes no sense to be investing so much time and effort. And also, in a way, we are putting in a lot of industries where we believe, or services where we believe that the opportunities are there, but we are not capturing enough of the market that we should be doing. Which is why it's important that we look at these agreements, these engagements very seriously in industry. And if you still need more, if you still need any further issues to be sorted out, clarified, we are absolutely, both UAE and India are willing to do that. But आप लोग मांगने वाले बनिए. आप मांगेंगे ही नहीं तो फिर हम भी क्या करेंगे? I'm sure you're all aware that this entire CEPA is probably the world's fastest comprehensive economic partnership. 88 days from start to finish. It was finalized. Start to finish. And not the way the earlier FTAs were done, that the ministers or the governments decide on their own. Here there is 100% buy-in from every sector where we have foregone anything, and there's complete enthusiasm for those which have benefited, and all the ministries are 100% on board. There was not a single issue in the whole CEPA where either there is an industry objection or a stakeholder observation or opposition or an interministerial issue. So 100% interministerial plus stakeholder concurrence before signing the agreement is the hallmark of the UAE-India CEPA. Again, probably a first, because after every engagement in the past, we used to hear murmurs of discontent and unhappiness. And we are trying to change that system of working so that we work closely with all of you. I'll just try to give you a little flavor of why we were keen and why I think you will all stand to benefit from this agreement. First of all, the UAE government is extremely keen to diversify some of their current imports from certain geographies. So their largest trading partner is not India. We are second largest probably. They want us to be the largest. And therefore they were very keen to, and very willing and very forthcoming to open up their market in more and more areas. So that's one good thing that we must keep in mind. Second, the GCC earlier was always vacillating. Karna hai, nahi karna hai, karna hai, nahi karna hai. Having done the UAE, when they saw that we are moving very fast, the GCC has also now come to us. And in the next month, we'll be finalizing the terms of reference, start negotiating. Now we have a base document, the UAE SIPA. So it'll become much easier to probably engage with with the GCC, which means Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain. 5 more will come on board. So in a way, this sets the base for the larger Middle East market. Even otherwise, when you export to the UAE, you do get an access indirectly to all these countries also. Third, the entire African continent. 55 countries, huge population. I am given to understand, if I am wrong, I'd like you all, whoever speaks after me, to correct me, but I am given to understand many businesses in India are hesitant to work with African countries for payment problems, size of the order, all of that. I remember many of you were there when we did the DP World interaction, and this issue had come out in a big way. That if we have outlets in Dubai or in UAE, many African countries' representatives come there, they buy from there, make payment to Dubai, the risk is transferred to UAE. And in UAE, the laws being what they are, particularly around payment, check bouncing and all of that, normally nobody messes around with the UAE. Am I right in my understanding? So for us to have a market at zero duty in UAE indirectly opens up the market for the entire African continent. We had access there earlier also, but we were unwilling to deal with them. But if we send to UAE, from there they will have a natural potential to go into various African countries. So it opens the whole African continent for all of you also. And then there are several European countries which are very close to Dubai. Dubai is also now looking at some 30-35 free trade agreements with other countries. So to my mind, this was the first FTA UAE has done after many years. I think they have only 2 other FTAs, old FTAs. But they have done this after many years. So we have a leg up. अगर आप इसका इस्तेमाल नहीं करें, इसका फायदा नहीं उठाएं, we will have only ourselves to blame. फिर किसी और को दोषी नहीं ठहरा सकते. इसके कारण मैंने मेरे ऑफिस को कहा, चाहे शॉर्ट नोटिस है, ये सब मेरे मित्र हैं, मुंबई कर हैं, मेरे रिक्वेस्ट पे या मेरे को मिलने जरूर आएंगे. और जितनी बड़ी संख्या में आप आए हैं, I must thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. मुझे लगता है मेरे अधिकारियों ने रूम भी बहुत छोटा लिया, ये सोच के कि यार 12 घंटे के नोटिस पे कौन आएगा, पर आपने रूम को छोटा कर दिया और इतना भर दिया. इसके लिए वास्तव में मेरा भी उत्साह और मेरा भी हौसला आपने बढ़ाने का काम किया है. थैंक यू वेरी मच. एक और मैं जानकारी के रूप में आपको दे रहा हूं, क्यों यूएई से संबंध बढ़ाने में हमें लाभ है. जो भी व्यापार हम यूएई से करते हैं, जो उसकी इकोनॉमिक इम्पैक्ट यूएई में होगी, उससे इंडियंस को यूएई में और अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगी. फिर उनकी लोकल पॉपुलेशन तो थोड़ी है, आज भी 35 लाख, 1/3 ऑफ द टोटल पॉपुलेशन इज इंडियन. तो इफ देयर इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी इंक्रीजेस, वो भी इनडायरेक्टली इंडियंस को बेनिफिट करता है. लोगों को यहाँ से और नौकरी के अवसर मिलेंगे यूएई में. यूएई में नौकरी करते हैं तो कुछ रेमिटेंस भेजते हैं भारत में. एकदम परफेक्ट मैच होता है यूएई हमारे साथ। फिर एजुकेशन में हम बढ़ा रहे हैं उनके साथ बातचीत, सो दैट वी हैव जॉइंट एजुकेशन प्रोग्राम्स। एंड देन हमारे बच्चों को वहाँ पे कई बार अच्छे अच्छे बच्चों को यहाँ की मेरिट कट ऑफ बहुत टाइट होने के कारण they don't get admission in top universities and all. So we are trying to see if UAE also can become an educational hub for Indian students. और I can assure you कोई Indian student वहाँ study के लिए जाएगा, 99% वो लोग उसको absorb भी कर लेंगे, जॉब भी गारंटी हो जाएगी, अच्छी जॉब गारंटी हो। Even with Australia मैं उस पर बहुत काम कर रहा हूँ कि what will our students get when they study in Australia. Then we are looking at joint partnership on education so that we can bring down the cost of education, get a dual degree, and hopefully some other benefits. I can't share all the details. And even to my friends of the media, all the conversation of Australia that I'm doing, please don't make news articles के बीच में अटक नहीं जाए हमारी गाड़ी, अच्छी चल रही है एकदम। एंड थर्ड, जो 35 लाख इंडियन ओरिजिन के लोग यूएई में रहते हैं, उनका जिस तरीके से कोविड में इन्होंने ध्यान रखा, इट इज अनबिलीवेबल। एक कॉल नहीं आई कभी, आपके पास भी मित्र होंगे, किसी ने कभी कंप्लेन नहीं किया कि यूएई छोड़ के हमको भारत आना है। इनफैक्ट ऑन द कॉन्ट्ररी, मुझे मालूम है कई इंडियंस भी यूएई जाके कोविड के दौरान में रहने लग गए थे टेम्पररी वीजास पे। So they took care of every Indian like a family member would take care. कोई दवा चाहिए, कोई बीमारी हो, कुछ hospitalization, they really went out of the way to take care of all the people. So that's another thing जो एक तरीके से एक natural bonding और affinity partnership हम दोनों देशों के बीच में दर्शाते। Sorry, I didn't want to trouble you on that. नहीं नहीं, आप बैठो बेटा, डोंट वरी। अगर कोई छोटी टेबल हो तो यहाँ रख दो। So I just thought this perspective I'll give you before I come down to more specific sectors. Also हमने स्टार्टअप्स के ऊपर तय किया है कि हम एंगेजमेंट बढ़ाएंगे। तो स्टार्टअप्स को इन्वेस्टर्स यूएई से अच्छे मिल सकते हैं। यूएई ने $75 बिलियन यानी 5 लाख करोड़ इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करने का कमिट किया है। वो बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स चाहते हैं एंड स्टार्टअप्स चाहते हैं, दोनों। एक तरफ दे वांट टू लुक एट स्टार्टअप्स, दे आर आल्सो कीन टू क्रिएट अ स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम इन यूएई, प्लस दे आर लुकिंग फॉर बिग प्रोजेक्ट्स। सो इफ एनी ऑफ यू हैज big investment plans, I can assure you UAE is very keen. Infrastructure, manufacturing, different things. They have committed 5 lakh crore investment. That was discussed in my last high-level task force on investments in October last year also. थोड़ा कोविड के कारण last 2 years में थोड़ा slow रहा, but they are committed to 5 lakh crore investment. और उनके पास पैसे की कमी नहीं है, ज़्यादा भी अगर भारत एब्जॉर्ब करे तो दे आर रेडी। तो मैं ये इससे बता रहा हूं आप सबको कि अब ये सब कुछ होने के बाद अगर हम अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं ग्रैब करेंगे, फिर हम वास्तव में किसी को और ब्लेम नहीं कर सकते। फिर जो डीपी वर्ल्ड से यहां चर्चा हुई थी, उसका एक कड़ी यानी अपीडा एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए, डीपी वर्ल्ड और अलधारा जो उनके साथ एंगेज करती है, जो हमारे एफएसएससीआई इक्विवेलेंट है, अलधारा, इनके बीच में एक एमओयू हुआ है इस दौरान, जो हमने यहाँ चर्चा की थी 4 सीजन्स में ही शायद की थी लास्ट टाइम या आईटीसी में। उसके ऊपर भी काम चल रहा है आगे चल के कि वहां पे एक इंडिया मार्ट या कुछ क्रिएट किया जाए। दैट डिस्कशन कॉन्वर्सेशन इज ऑल्सो ऑनगोइंग। There are many firsts in this agreement. Now let's get down to the sectors. First of all, gem and jewelry will be one big gainer. In the sense, we have given them a TRQ, by which we can import gold from UAE up to 120 tons in the first year and gradually going up to 200 tons at a 1% lower import duty. The idea is कि थोड़ा gold का cost India में reasonable करें और उससे हमारी क्योंकि कई बार छोटा छोटा gold piece का आप लोग शायद import export करते हुए you may not be able to get the requisite duty free import of gold. तो थोड़ा इस तरीके से एक beginning की है, let us see how it works out. But at the same time हमें उन्होंने ज्वेलरी गोल्ड के लिए गोल्ड एंड जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी के लिए जीरो ड्यूटी एग्री किया है. जेम एंड ज्वेलरी सेक्टर हैज assured me that they are now looking at a $10 billion target in UAE alone. And UAE, we are all aware, the gold souk and all, there's a lot of business going on over there on gem and jewelry. Like I remember my first trip some 27 years ago also. At that time also there used to be a gold souk which was just glitter and glitter all four sides. They have a big jewelry business. That Malabar people had come for our signing and the banquet after that. They told me when I had gone to Dubai that they are the world's second largest in the gem and jewelry sector. And they grew maximum in the UAE. So that's one sector which clearly stands to benefit very significantly from the current agreement. Textile is another sector. All the goods that go in to the UAE on the textile side will be at zero duty. So that's another important sector. Pharmaceuticals and medical devices. While I'm told pharma was already at zero duty, some items, some had duty. Medical devices at duty, all of this will be now zero duty. But the interesting part is not just the zero duty. For the first time in the history of India, first time ever, we have an agreement with UAE now. कौन है फार्मा से या कोई है क्या? फार्मा के लोग यहाँ नहीं है, आप हैं, आप भी हैं. For the first time ever, if your products are certified or approved through the regulatory approval process in USA, Canada, European Union, London, UK, Japan or Australia, in any of these geographies, through a rigorous, and these are rigorous regulatory approvals, if there is a regulatory approval from any of these geographies, you have to only make a simple application to UAE and in 90 days, you can start selling all those pharmaceutical products over there. This has never been imagined or thought of also before. And again, once you send it to the UAE, the corresponding entry to other GCC countries, to African continent, that will become easier. Since many people, I'm told, come there and buy goods and go back to their countries. So I think one of the biggest gainers could be gem and jewelry, textiles and pharmaceutical products. Plastics is another area where now there will be zero duty. Simultaneously, we've given them a TRQ for the raw material to make plastic products here, which means hopefully plastic raw material gets cheaper in India and therefore our competitiveness on plastics improves. In the long run, I personally believe that plastics is one area where alone, not only UAE, overall in the world market, we should be aspiring for a major increase. Textile and plastics both. Plastics can easily give 1 crore jobs to people in India. It's generally a MSME kind of sector, but if you get good equipment, CNCs or whatever equipment, molding, good molding machines and all, plastic is an area where we should look at a big jump in India's export, which should be competitive. My mind and logic tells me we should be competitive, given the nature of its labor-intensive manufacturing process. Textiles is another area, zero duty to this region. From here, Africa, other parts of Europe, GCC, and of course, my dialogue with Australia, hopefully I'll end next month. Next month we have the next round with UK, We are trying to push UK also for a quick resolution. Canada minister is coming on 10th or 11th of March, and we are agreed to do an interim in principle, but let's see, after our discussion that day we'll decide. Interim karna hai, comprehensive karna hai. So I'm just telling you, the mood is very, very positive. Things are moving in the right direction. With Korea, we are going to start renegotiating to further improve that FTA, because the original FTA has not given India any significant benefit of market access. So I've had a serious conversation with my counterpart with Korea, and we are looking at revising that CEPA, even expanding it to make it more useful. Engineering products and automobiles, two other areas. Now, at least I don't know which cars can go to the UAE, but the high-end cars that we are making, and we are making a lot of high-end cars in India, I'm sure will become more competitive in the UAE. Similarly, leather and footwear, both will have also got zero duty. Now to the sector which may not, and then we have for furniture, wood products, sports goods, all of that have become zero duty. Of course, the sector which is most crucial and important for India may not be for many of you in the room, but maybe if you are in the food processing business, you can benefit. If you are not, you can look at diversifying. But zero duty on almost everything related to agriculture. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of exports go to Africa, which could go from UAE to Africa, to other GCC countries also. So there's a huge potential for agri-goods, because the food security of that region, in a way, has come under threat in the COVID period. And during that whole period, India stood by them. Not one day there was a shortage in UAE of any product. We would even fly down, and at the Commerce Ministry, Agriculture Ministry, we would monitor movement of goods to the ports or airports. We flew down huge consignments of agri products, but made sure, just like we made sure in India, that nobody's family had to go hungry. एक दिन भी किसी का चूल्हा ना चलाओ पूरे देश में, गरीब से गरीब आदमी के घर को अनाज पहुंचाया. यहाँ अलग तरीके से, यहाँ तो प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण अन्न योजना के तहत एडिशनल अनाज दिया, फूड सिक्योरिटी के तहत तो दे ही रहे थे. But to UAE we sold our agricultural products and made sure that not a single day there was a shortage in the entire UAE. And they appreciate that very much. So all these products put together, we are looking at almost 90% of our exports, mostly these items, getting zero duty on day one. And we have set a timeline of about 1st May or so, 60 odd days from now, by when we can, it'll come into force. On the Indian side, all formalities are over. They are doing their formalities. They have promised me they'll try to do it faster. So let's see, we may even manage to do it in 30 days. So they are making an effort. Agar Ramadan ke pehle ho jaye, which could be a great achievement. So we'll start the next year, 1st April onwards, we'll start with the FTA in place. I have also good news to share. You kindly work out the details with our counterparts there. Soon after Ramadan, that's about 1st week of May or thereabouts, their minister has agreed to come down to Mumbai specifically. And I insisted you must come to Mumbai to interact with all of you and to see what further opportunities we can do. We'll have business roundtables also. So he'll lead a delegation, a large delegation of business persons from UAE, with whom we'll try to connect all of you and see how you can engage with them and expand your businesses. Some items where the 9% of our trade value, balance 9 out of 100, 90 will be zero right away. 9% will be within 5 to 10 years. That's largely electronic goods, chemicals and petrochemicals, articles of stone, cement, ceramics, and some machinery items. I don't see too many people in this room who are dealing with these products. Prima facie दिख नहीं रहा है मुझे जितना मैं आप सबको पहचानता हूँ. So this is the story. Now our department had interacted with all of you before we agreed. And I was told that all of you were quite excited about these concessions. There are different numbers that I've got. For example, textiles said will go up to 2 billion. Man-made fibers said will go up to about 650 million. Engineering products had said will go up to about no, you're already at 4.2 billion. Sorry, 5 billion this year. So engineering has said you'll go up to 9.2 billion. Sorry, this year itself will be 5. So you've said you'll be about 9.2 billion. Gems and jewelry, I told you they've committed a $10 billion at the minimum exports. Pharmaceutical feels that they can go up to about $1 billion, but I think they are being very conservative. They're not realizing the power of the agreement where you can start sending goods approved in other countries. I think they're only looking at UAE. They're not assessing its impact on the other markets where you'll get natural access. Plastics has said that they can look at an additional increase of 1.3 billion. Currently this year they say they can do about 1.3 billion in 5 years. Again, to my mind, this is conservative. But we'll have to wait and watch. Automobiles has still given very conservative estimates of about 160 million. But they believe that they're currently still pitching for the lower end of the cars, $12,000 or thereabouts, which is about 8.5, 9 lakh rupees. I think we should also see whether some of the higher end cars made in India can also be exported there. We'll have to do a separate session with the auto industry. We also have a good presence in commercial vehicles and two-wheelers, where the gains will be higher. They haven't been able to quantify that as yet. So that will add to the 160 million. Leather and footwear believes they can add 130 million. Again, in my humble view, I think that's conservative. Agricultural products are looking at least a 850 million increase in the near future. That's about 7,000 crores, which is significant for a small country. This is hopefully additional increase. That's what I've been told. And then the other items like furniture, wood products and sports goods, where the amount hasn't been quantified. So I'm just sharing this with you that we've done all these agreements in consultation with you. You all have given us an idea of what it will mean, what benefit it will give you. Now the ball is in your court. We have also kept a permanent safeguard mechanism. If there's an inordinate increase in any or a surge in import, of course, it's mutual, both sides, always. But, UAE, by and large, it's quite a benign country. They are looking for imports. They don't make much locally. So they want us to start replacing some of the imports that they are doing from other countries. So I would urge all of you to start making your travel plans. Dubai Expo is also going on till 31st. Our pavilion is adjudged one of the best pavilions. Already 1 million plus visitors. Probably only 2 or 3 pavilions have this level of visitors. Already 1 million plus. But if you go, do visit that also. But I think you must start making contacts before your competition does. Right? And we've kept stringent rules of origin so that genuine imports only come in from whatever is coming from there. Third country products don't come to India from UAE. And the good part is government will give the certificate of origin. So that safeguard has also been brought in. कि फर्जी country of origin certificate पे माल भारत में नहीं आएगा तो you can rest assured that your domestic production will not get affected by routing imports from Dubai and getting some cheap products or low-cost products. Government will give a certificate of origin. So we've done our best to reduce trade barriers, particularly to get access in labor-oriented industries so that large-scale employment can be created. All of you, the industry had estimated to us that this will create at least 10 lakh new jobs, just the UAE FTA. Once we conclude GCC, maybe a few months from now, that will be another leg up. Australia also, we're getting I think, a very good deal. And they're also not much of they're not much of an industrial base. They're more raw material, minerals and all that. So that will only help us to become more competitive in our manufacturing. And sensitive sectors we've kept out on both sides. So whatever is sensitive where they are low cost, I'm not giving more details, but most people who understand Australia know what are the sensitive sectors. Those are completely out. So none of our farmers need to worry. None of what is produced in India needs to worry about what we will do with Australia. Farmers have been particularly fully protected in both these FTAs, UAE as well as in whatever we are discussing with Australia. So we've kept a modest target of $100 billion two-way trade. I'm totally unsatisfied with that. But since the officials had already finalized it, I didn't interfere. I have not set my own target, but whatever I'm estimating, my own sense is we can do much more than that. Two-way trade we are talking. We can get more petroleum products or crude oil and all from there. But the potential for us to export has truly increased. And the entire agreement has been done in a very fair and balanced manner, in the principle of reciprocity. And why we like to work with UAE is because there's a rule of law there. You get justice if there's any problem. Your payment is secure. Nobody will mess around with not paying you your dues. And their laws and all systems are quite transparent. They don't have some hidden googlies which will, affect our products or our... So I believe that it's a win-win agreement. Good opportunity for all of you. A very comprehensive agreement. It'll give you all opportunities to expand your business, give new thrust to the Make in India program, and towards that end, we all need to work together. The Commerce and Industry Ministry is absolutely up and available and at your service. Any help you require from us, anytime, 24/7, we are ready and there.
विकासाचा ध्यास म्हणजे